Hello. I don't know if anybody's here or if I'm just seeing bots. Just getting started a little early so I'd be all up and running when the raid train gets here. Today is hello. Today I think you probably already know about the raid train because I think I saw you in somebody's chat earlier today. We're doing the Twitch Tour de Fleece team is having a raid train today for 24 hours, and I'm the last one. So I am technically from 9 p.m. Eastern Time until midnight Eastern Time in the U.S. But I'm a little early. Yay, no stress. So yeah, I don't usually stream on Saturdays, but they didn't have anybody for this last slot. So like just 500 people? No, I think there were like 18 in the last one. They're the one that's right now that hasn't quite ended yet. Well, that's the fiber community is not so big like the gaming community. Although I got raided by a party of 60 the other night. I was quite surprised. I think that's the most people I've ever had in my chat at one time. Huh. Sure. This is an Ashford Traveler made in New Zealand. In this one, I bought this one in 1987, so it's quite a bit older. And when I bought this one, they didn't. I mean, it came with one treadle and Scotch tension, and that was the only option. And now they have other options available. Is there anything specific that you wanted to know about it? He says, not as old as ours. We got wheels from the 50s and the 70s, aka the roughest centuries in Finland economically. I think my oldest one is from the late 70s. Um, I've been trying to get one that is probably from the late 1800s or early 1900s. I'd have to look it up again to be sure. It's the it's a precursor to what we call here Canadian production wheels, because it's made by someone from one of those families, and it has a lot in common. The only real difference is that it has a screw tension instead of a tilt tension. Um, but I was told and it's moderately rare amongst those type of wheels. But I was told by people who've spent a lot of time studying those wheels to offer 200 and not go any higher than 250 because it needs some repairs. But the person who has it took it to someone in the area, I guess, who is supposed to specialize in antique wheels and repairing them, and he told her to ask for 600, and I'm like, no. No, absolutely not. And as far as I know, she has not yet sold it, so I'm hoping that she'll give up and see the sense of my $200 offer. Because like I said, it's going to need some work. It's got all its parts, but it's going to need a significant amount of fine-tuning. He says, wheels were a necessity here since poor people had fur and hair but no sewing yarn. Well, I don't know, you're in Finland, right? I'm not sure about Finland, but I know like in Norway and Sweden, it's possible to get beautiful old wheels really, really inexpensively, because the comment was everybody has one in their barn. Hardly anybody knows how to use them or has any interest. So it's possible, like on their website, that's the equivalent of what Americans would call Craigslist, to get them for very, very inexpensively. Although I don't know what it would cost to ship one here. And there are the Raiders. Hey, Bauman Maid. Hello, Raiders. How are you guys? No sense asking the usual questions because I was over there a few minutes ago. Was there for most of the stream. He says, Finland had twice the poorness. We made our own wheels and looms. Rocket Propelled Freeman says, word of warning, I'm watching backstage at work. Where do you work? Alley Cat's Corner says, howdy. KB Fiber says, hello. Knots and Stitches, hi there. Bauman Maid, wee. KB Fibers asks, what wheel are you using? This is an Ashford Traveler that I bought new in 1987, and up until I got a Merlin Tree Road Bug about 2 years ago, this was the wheel that went everywhere, because it's my other wheels are less versatile and not as easy to drag around and throw in the backseat of the car and stuff. So this was the wheel that used to go everywhere for all of those decades. So it makes some noises. It is old enough that at the time I bought it, it was only available in Scotch tension and only with a single treadle. And even with the road bug is pretty versatile because it's got a lot of whirls. But I guess this is my go-to wheel. Oh yeah, the wheels command list all of my wheels. not just the one. I should make one that just lists whatever, or maybe I should put that in project. Alley Cat's Corner says that's the year I was born. And Knots and Stitches says last stop on the raid train. I know it feels weird. There's nobody lined up after me. Knots and Stitches says your wheel is older than me. Yeah, yeah. Oh well, my loom is probably. I was gonna say my loom is older than me, but it's not. Um, he says, but yeah, our wheels were mostly a common practice due to not having import money at the time. Well, you know, if a peoples have to make do, then they make do. Birding Mom says, hello, came over with the raid. Birding Mom, you are like fluorescent magenta in my chat tonight over here. At least in the Streamlabs version. Uncreative, hi, how are ya? KB Fiber says, I have a Magicraft Suzy. I have a friend who has one of those. Is the Suzy Pro maybe? It's got a green wheel? Yeah, those are cool. Birding Mom says, LOL, they're trying to make us feel old, Snoring Cat. Well, sometimes I think that they're correct. Some nights. Tonight's one of them. The horror guy says we made spindles and we're famous for the first nation to make do-it-yourself weaving looms. Uncreative says doing okay, setting up to try DK socks again. Cool. Well, thank you for the follow, Knots and Stitches. Birding Mom says, yes, I changed to hot pink like my hair straight. Cool. I think it was on Facebook. So it was probably like a TikTok video. A woman dyed her hair with like fluorescent. Well, not fluorescent. Glowing. No, I guess it was UV reactive. So it was green, like, you know, full of fluorescent green that things glow. Which I think is like related to phosphorus. But so she dyed her hair. It came out this really cool green, and then she turned on a UV light, and holy cow, Batman! I could maybe have some fun with that. And she didn't do any lift, so she just did it over. And I think my hair's lighter than hers was. KB Fiber said my wheel is wood with 4-leaf clover in the center. Oh, okay. Okay, I know which one that is. And thank you for the follow, JM Whitcomb. Rocket propelled from, I think it's plural. I think you have to, it's got to be exclamation point looms because they're plural too. So what's everybody doing tonight? The Uncreative said setting up some DK socks. My current pair of socks, which I left at work so I can't show you, has been an adventure because I started out, I typically knit socks on double points, but since I call myself a sock knitting teacher, I decided that I should probably be fluent in all of the various ways that people knit socks. So I bought a really long cable needle, and a lovely Leica, whatever it's called, um, driftwood in a size 1, and was knitting away quite happily, getting the hang of the whole magic loop thing. And the I arrived somewhere and where I was gonna be a while and had brought knitting, and I pulled it out of the bag, and one of the tips had snapped in half. So then I had also ordered a Chowgu 9-inch circular, because I had tried other 9-inch circulars and was not in love, but kind of wanted to be, but wasn't. And I had watched Very Pink Knit's review of 9-inch circulars, and her favorite of those she reviewed was the Chowgu, so I got one of those. And that's going okay. And then when I went to the yarn shop, my local yarn shop, on Thursday afternoon, and picked up another longer cable for Magic Loop, and then a shorter one in the same size. For the socks on 2 circs, and got home, and rather than size 1, I had picked up size 0. But then I was like, well, okay, what the heck? And well, that actually wasn't the word I used, but I try to be PG-13. So I switched from the circular 9-inch circular back to the Magic Loop, and found that my gauge is looser on the 0 than it was on the 1. So I was like, well, guess I'm going to keep the 0s. Okay, KB Fiber said both my looms are rigid heddle styles, one 10-inch, the other 32-inch. How do you find that wide one for? I think for a rigid heddle that would be too wide. A couple of the looms that I weave on are 45 and 48-inch wide, and I have trouble throwing the boat shuttle all the way across. It's a far reach. Well, here, let me actually bring up that command and show you the looms. So that's what. Let me see. Let me read it. I haven't looked at that in a long time. Okay, little Stina, the little Structo. The little Structo is it's a wooden one, not the metal one, and it's wooden, and it weighs a crap ton. Sometimes if I have to pick it up and move it, I complain that it weighs almost as much as my 45-inch 4 harness. Okay, and then the 15-inch Cricut pin loom. Yeah, and the 8-shaft Baby Wolf, which I have at my house still, because I borrowed it because we use it for the sheep to shawl competitions, none of which occurred this year, but due to plague, I've not returned it, and they haven't asked for it back, so it still sits here. And I also, at a weaver's cabin where I'm a volunteer, I have access to a 54-inch 4 harness Maycomber, like 30-inch, what the heck is it? Leclerc, and 45 or 48-inch Cranbrook 4-shaft counterbalance, which is the love of my life. And if they ever decide they don't want it anymore, I'm hoping I can buy it. Because the Cranbrook are what I learned to weave on in college. And all the other volunteers are kind of afraid of it. for no reason that I can determine. So I'm the one that ends up weaving on it. Although I was asked if I would put a project on it so that other volunteers could learn how to weave on it. And I'm like, it just like weaving on any other loom. The only thing that's different is the tie-ups. And if I set the loom up, nobody else is going to learn how to do the tie. But well, whatever. If it helps them not be afraid of it, that's cool. Welcome back, Bum and Maid. Well, some of it is the things that are my personal things are just because I'm old and I've been doing this a long time. I learned to spin. Well, I had done some simple weaving as a kid in school, pot holders, and then we had these little tapestry looms in the 5th grade, and we did some tapestry stuff. But then when I was a freshman in college, I was an art major, and I thought I was going to major in drawing. But a roommate of a high school friend I had gone to visit one day, and friend's roommate was spinning on a drop spindle, and I was fascinated, and she let me try, and I thought that was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And so the next semester, so like my second semester in college, it was the next year. So the beginning of my sophomore year, I couldn't get in the drawing class that I needed, and I got bumped into my alternate, which was fiber, because I had spun on a drop spindle, and boy was that cool. And so I got dumped into this weaving class and never looked back. I don't think I've drawn anything since, and that was like in 1979. So the first semester of my fiber class, we learned to dye and card wool, and we learned to spin on a drop spindle, and we did tapestry weaving, and coil baskets, and felting, and I forget what else. And then the second semester, I got to learn how to spin on a spinning wheel and weave on the big looms. So yeah. So, and I started collecting stray spinning wheels not too terribly long after that. The looms have come later because I never really had the budget. And there wasn't any such a thing as Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, in those days. There wasn't such a thing as an internet in those days. KB Fiber said, I just don't have room for the big floor models. Well, and a lot of people don't. And so rigid heddle looms are very practical, especially the ones that fold up. And that's why a lot of people go for the baby wools, because it's a 26-inch weaving width, and you can fold it up with a project on it, and slide it somewhere behind the couch, maybe. The one I have here, I don't really have a place for it to be set up. The one from the guild, so it's on what they call a stroller, which is this little wheel deal that if it's folded up, the little wheels are on the floor. If it's opened up for weaving, they're like, popped up, sort of a thing. But it gets tucked back here in my streaming space when I'm not at the computer. But see, when I was learning to weave, everybody wanted the big looms. And now nobody wants the big looms. So the big ones, like the big Cranbrook, was donated to the Weaver's Cabin because the woman who had bought it in like 1974 is now weaving on a smaller loom, and the big loom was disassembled in her attic for 20 years. And she tried to sell it, and nobody wants the, I mean, it's a big countermarch loom. It needs a room to itself. So if, I want it. If they ever part with it, I want it. I want first dibs to buy it, but I don't know where I'll put it. I'll figure something out. But, to be absolutely honest, that 15-inch Cricut rigid heddle, I use that loom every bit as much as I use all the big looms combined. And if you get tired of weaving plain weave, you can absolutely weave more complicated stuff on that simple of a loom. It just is a little more fiddly. On my Instagram, if you scroll back a couple of years, there are pictures of where I made string and stick heddles and wove a 4-harness pattern scarf on the Cricut loom. I don't know that I want to do it again. It was very fiddly getting the heddles placed correctly so that the pattern that I wanted to weave would emerge the way I wanted. Okay, you guys have me going all off on rants, so now I have to scroll back up. Birding Mom says, LOL, to KB Fibers. I have friends that decided the dining room or living room had to go so they could have their looms. Yes. I have known a number of people who are like, we don't eat at the table. Why do we need a dining room? And I've said the same thing. Our dining room table right now is holding probably 100 empty canning jars. Because, it's a horizontal surface. And in my house, people put things on horizontal surfaces. But yeah, living room, dining room. I have said that if our housemate ever moves out, I'm taking over his room for the loom room because it's got higher ceilings than the room on the second floor where I have my big loom. Baba Maid said, I'm working on making my dining room into a craft room. I want a loom eventually. Well, cool. God, let me know when you decide, if you're going to get a floor loom or a harness loom. Let me know, because I'm an excellent enabler and I can help you figure out what'll work best for you, within your budget. KB Fiber says, my first spinning experience was with cast hair. Do you mean cat hair? Cast hair mixed with pine needles, which made a basket. Oh, well, that's cool. Birding Mom said, that's when you get a giant she shed in the backyard or driveway. Yeah, well, there's not really anywhere in We have a 2-car garage, but that's sort of the 2.5-car garage actually, but that's sort of the housemate's domain because he has all the big power tools. So that's his space. And our house is over 200 years old, and it's in a little historic town. And the house sits almost on the sidewalk in the front. There's 5 or maybe 6 foot deep flower beds in front of the porch. And then the backyard slopes fairly steeply downhill in the garage, and there's an alley behind. And the garage sits at the bottom of the hill on the alley. I think the only place I really could put a she shed is where the chicken coop is. So maybe if I ever don't have chickens anymore, then I could think about. I need to win the lottery. or have a Kickstarter or something. Mama maid said, nah, you outfit her real nice. She shed, kick the roommate out into it, and then I don't think that would go over very well. well, since, he pays part of the mortgage. Yeah, he probably wouldn't be very amused. Mama maid said, if I find any looms for sale secondhand, you will be the one I call. Well, and actually, you'll need my phone number for that. Give me a holler sometime, and we'll make sure you have it. I will set up the time to see it when you're awake, and we can do a Discord chat. That's actually a good idea. That's a very good idea. Birding Mom said, bye-bye chickens if you get that big loom. That's entirely possible. I don't anticipate that the housemate's leaving anytime soon. So, that's all just a fantasy. But for now, I like my chickens. I don't always like them on frigid winter days when I have to go out and feed them and unfreeze their water before I can go to work. KB Fiber says, I love my chickens too much to do that. Yeah, my chickens are on my Instagram as well. Feel free to go look. Oh, and there are some sweet Angora bunny pictures, but I don't have them. They were elderly, an elderly pair of sisters who I rescued when a friend of mine lost the lease on the farm she and her husband were renting. And they are no longer with us, unfortunately. And I keep thinking about getting more Angora rabbits. But my health has been such that the last couple of years that the chickens are plenty to have to be responsible for. Bama Maid said, same as FaceTime, honestly. Just maybe be like, Sarah, take me off speaker if you need to tell me it's a crap deal. Yeah. KB Fiber says, I would do that, but I'm allergic to Angora. The bunnies make my face itch a little bit, but I'm willing to suck it up. Now, guinea pigs, on the other hand, I can't handle guinea pigs. They make my face swell up into a ginormous hive. Wow, I wonder if this is going to last the whole stream or if I'm going to run out. I decided the last couple of days that I need to be spinning some yarn that's going to be like worsted weight or a little thicker once it's 2-ply. And I forget how much faster that fills up the bobbin than the like sport weight that I usually spin. Bobbin Maid, were those yarn tool things, the ones from Hip Strings? KB Fiber said, I can't breathe around them. I've had 3 kinds of rabbits over the years. Yeah, I think a lot of people are allergic to them. Obama Maid said, I didn't even make it through half a braid on my stream. That's because you spin frog hair. I can make a 4 ounce braid last for a month if I spin frog hair. Hip, hip string spinner control card. Yes, I need those. And she lives like half an hour from me. But I keep waiting for my local yarn shop to get them in so then I can support both of them. Because she used to always have them, and now every time I ask, she doesn't have any. It's like, whoa. It's like, set up some sort of an automatic notification. So, when you get them in stock, it'll email me or something. Because I don't remember to ask. Thank you for the follow catches. Texas Stitcher. I'm not tired or anything. Bama Maid said the clear one is the precise card and the green is the micro precise. Yeah, I think did they all come in a set or did you buy them individually? Because I think I need all those, and I'd like to have the angle of twist one, just because sometimes if I've been in a rut spinning the same thing for a while, and then I go to spin, a different weight of yarn or whatever, I have trouble with with getting a balanced ply, and I think that the twist angle card would help me. And if any of you ever have a chance to take a class with Jill from Hip Strings, oh my God, do it. Well, if you're interested in the more technical side of spinning, I've been spinning since like 1979, and I have learned from her. Every time I've ever had the opportunity to be in that position, I have learned from her. And also, if you're interested in supported spindling, but not sure, what you're doing, I took a class in supported spindling with her too. Partly because I was having trouble wrapping my brain around spinning off the point, off the tip, which is what you do with most supported spindles. I could spin just fine on the little brass Tockley that has the hook at the top of it, but I had a couple of hip string spindles and I was just having trouble figuring, and I'd been watching videos and I was just like, you know what, sign me up for the class. And she's really good, and she makes very cool little supported spindles, and she has a freaking PhD in some sort of a sciencey thing. Both she and her husband Nick both have PhDs. And once she started having kids, she went into the fiber business, and the fiber community is better for it. But my mate said, I love that they have so many color choices. You could probably order through her for a special, yes. But my yarn shop can also order special stuff from her for me. That's how I got the, I wanted the time traveler design on a spindle. And my yarn shop had some, but they were on clear. And I wanted it on blue because, duh, TARDIS. And I also wanted it on her biggest, I keep forgetting where the camera is, her biggest diameter spindle, just so you could see it better. I don't actually like spinning on that size as well, but it's pretty. So my yarn shop ordered it for me. And I waited a long time because apparently sometimes Jill has trouble getting in the blue. And then a friend, a friend got me the spinning bowl to match. So, and then at last year at Wayne's, because this year they didn't have a Waynesburg Sheep and Wool Festival. Last year on the secondhand table, there were several hip strings spindles, and there was a spindle bowl that came with one of them. And I bought a spindle that was in a size that I didn't have yet. And a friend of mine bought a spindle and a bowl, but she didn't like the etching in the bottom of the bowl was like an Alice in Wonderland thing, and it had the worm guy smoking the hookah, and it didn't appeal to her. And she's like, "Do you want this?" I'm like, "Seriously? Sure." So now I have two of the bowls. But they're very nice little spinning bowls, too. If you ever, and they're the spinning bowls are glass. So if you ever need a spinning bowl that's not wood, and for her spindles, since the shaft is carbon fiber, she does not recommend that you use wooden bowls because the carbon fiber tip is very sharp and it'll damage the wood. Well, and sometimes, in regard to looking on Hipstring's site, sometimes if you don't see what you want on her site, check her Etsy. You know, if you're looking for a spindle with a particular design and a particular color, she may have it in stock because sometimes she has different things between the website and the Etsy. Or, you know, if you run into her at a fiber festival or something, she doesn't vend at Maryland Sheep and Wool, but there's somebody else who has her spindles there. She is often there, she and her husband both, and he often will be spinning wearing a ginormous T-Rex costume. So if you ever see a T-Rex spinning at a fiber festival, it's probably Nick. Yes, and Lisa has been happy to order stuff for me. Not not just from Hipstrings. But yeah, I like to support, you know, if I can support both of them, I like to do that. Balma Maid said, I bought mine individually, but I think they might have a set. You'd have to check. Um, yeah, well, see, and the angle of twist isn't something I ever thought I would use until I attended a workshop where she went into great detail about why one might use it and how one would use it. And I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I need that too. But it's sort of the angle of twist tool is sort of, you know, most people don't approach their spinning with that level of technicality. So it's not something that probably most people would ever use. Obama Maid said, I might need to find a class in supported spindling. I'm beginning to think I suck at it. I think it takes a while to get it, you know, to get the kinesthetic memory. But if you can take a class, do. The class did help me wrap my brain around the whole spinning off of the point thing. But it also, most of what I got out of it, was that it validated me, because with the Tockley, because it has a hook on the top, I could spin and draft at the same time. Anything that has a point or a tip, I was having to park and draft. And Jill said, that's not, and I felt like that was cheating, or that was like supported spinning on training wheels. And she said, no, it's absolutely not cheating. It's how they spin in many parts of the world. She said, don't worry about it. She said, stop watching Flegel spin supported on YouTube because it's just going to make you feel inferior. Because I loved how and I could watch, and I still, I've been supported spindling for quite a while now, and I still park and draft. I still can't do it like Flegel does it. But I don't spin supported that often, because it's really it excels for spinning short stapled fibers, and I'm not doing a lot of I'm not doing a lot of that in the last year or so, although I do have 2 pounds of green cotton that I started spinning on my charka with the fantasy that someday I'm going to weave enough of it to make a blouse. We'll see if I live that long. But the last time I hadn't gotten the charka out in a long time, and the last time I did, I struggled a little bit, and I think I lost some of the muscle memory. Veggie said, oh cool, that's a cool, okay, you're talking about my maid. About my maid said, my spindle bowl is metal. Most of mine are glass. I have the 2 from Hip Strings, and I have a bunch of little salt pinches, just little, I'm used to the camera being over the desk. I have a bunch of little salt pinches. They're about that big around, like inch across, inch deep sort of thing. And they work really well. And I have a really pretty wooden spindle bowl that I received as a gift. But none of my supported spindles are wood, so I haven't used it. Saving it for when I eventually get a Hip Strings Russian, or not a Hip Strings, Spanish Peacock Russian is my unicorn spindle. Bama Maid said, or rather, it's a wooden bowl with a metal bit in layers for the spinning surface. Oh, that's cool. Veggie says, that's so metal. Ah ha 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 ha. We won't kick you out, Veggie. The metal is in like auto. Thank you, Auto Carrot. Birdie Mom said they are normally at SSK Market in Mashville. Where's Mashville? I know she does, or she has done, Shenandoah Valley, but I had never been able to go to that one because I used to vend at an event here called Pence Colony, which is like a Renaissance festival but set in the French and Indian War era. In that Shenandoah Valley falls one of those weekends. But I haven't been doing that because I was in a booth with 4 other people and there was some drama and it's not worth it. It's like, you know what? I don't make enough money there to deal with all that bullshit. Hydrate! Thank you, Ellie Cat. I wonder if you heard my voice cracking and decided that I needed to wet my whistle. Bama Maid said, honestly, honestly, I'm just now getting myself into the habit of constantly checking my wraps per inch when I change hooks. And it's because Dork does it that often and she spins incredibly consistent and hashtag goals. Yeah. I had a lovely reps per inch tool and I broke it. And that's why we can't have nice things. I'm the reason we can't have nice things. I should change hooks. Oh, no, I already did, apparently. Somebody used to always tell me to change hooks. Was that you, Burning Mom? I don't remember, but hasn't happened in, well, because I haven't been spinning on stream that much. Um, Most of the stuff I spin, I don't care if it's completely consistent, because a lot of it is just mitts and hats to go into my inventory. But now, like if I'm spinning 6 miles of warp for sheep to shawl competition warps, then I need to be more consistent. So I have to pay more attention to what I'm doing. But, it's like I'm just spinning modified long draw or supported long draw, probably be more accurate, from the fold, which is how I spin most of the time. And I don't care if it's not consistent. It doesn't matter. People still buy the hats and the mitts and the scarves. Baba Mate said not everybody is Fleagle. Well, yeah, hardly anybody is Fleagle. I sometimes wonder if only Fleagle is Fleagle. It just makes me feel inadequate. Thank you for following, Shannon. Baba Mate said my support spindle is a Mirkwood with the ball bearing in the tip. It did okay against ceramic, but I put it on a jar lid and it was so much better. I ordered the bowl from Dancing Goats. Oh, Dancing Goats! I forgot about that. Fibermaid said, no, that was me. Oh, the reminding me to change my hooks. Yeah, cause I suck at that. Well, I don't usually. It's just when I'm looking at chat, and chat is in the opposite direction. Actually, well, chat is at a right angle to my monitor. Bomba Mate said probably me. You've seen how often I change mine. Hey there, Fiber Mage. How are you doing? I missed the end of your stream. I thought I was going to get home before and be settled in before you got done, and I wasn't. Bomba Mate said it takes a lot for me to not yell about the hooks. Oh, you can yell at me. Feel free to use your mom voice. So I heard mom voices on two streams today. Because, all the children. Knots and Stitches said, I think the first time I saw anybody spin with a spindle was a few years ago at a local Ren fair. I started spinning almost a year ago. Cool. I've been saying for years, I've worked Ren fairs. I've worked in other people's booths. I've done hair braiding. And, I worked in a stained glass artist booth for a friend. And so a number of years at different Ren fairs. And I've always wanted to have my own booth and sell, woven stuff and knitted stuff and yarn and spinning fiber and so a couple of years ago I had talked to the woman who manages the crafts, the vendors at the Pittsburgh Ren Fair, and they at that point, because a friend of mine who has a booth there said, well, they don't have a weaver right now, give her a call. And I gave her a call, and she said, oh, I've been wanting a weaver, but I didn't know where to look, and blah, blah, blah. And we had everything all settled out, and I had the application filled out and sent in, and then our financial circumstances changed, and I just couldn't do it. Because getting established at a Renaissance festival can be very expensive because you have to have a building. And there isn't always room available for people to build, for new vendors to build new buildings. So you have to rent from somebody or you have to buy from somebody. And, some of those little bitty rent fair buildings sell for a lot of money because the potential to make good money is there. Not everybody does well at a Renaissance festival, and it can take as many as 5 years to get established because people at an event like that, the same people attend year after year, and they like to see that an artist is going to stick with it and not just be there a year and leave. And then there's also the vast quantities of inventory that you have to produce. My friend who's been making her living from rent fairs for the last 10 years recommended that I start the season with $15,000 to $20,000 worth of inventory. She said, now you're not going to sell that much in the first couple of years, but you can never, your booth can never look depleted. Booth always has to be full. And if your booth ever starts to look picked over, management will crawl up your butt because they want everybody's booth to always look fresh and full. So okay, let's see, where were we? But yeah, I love Ren fairs. That's my cosplay. Because I have a lot of friends who do cosplay, and I'd always be like, I think cosplay is so cool. I'm just not. I just don't care to do it myself. And then one day, as I'm sewing things for Penn's Colony by hand, a friend of mine is like, you do cosplay, yours is just historical. Uncreative says, I am having serious regrets doing the ribbed cuffs using the DK method. Oh, that's right, we were talking about that. Ribbing is slow enough as it is. Ribbing in double knit is super slow. Yeah, fiddly. It's very fiddly. Fiber Mage says, I'm doing okay. I'm glad, Fiber Mage. I'm glad you're doing okay. And you know what? Anything that we can do to help, you just need to ask. And I know asking is hard, but, or we could just pester you. J.M. Whitcomb says, or pay for encampments and membership fees and the fees to the fair. The actual, considering, like the fair I'm looking at is 6 weeks long. And if you consider what booth fees for a show of that draws that many people, a show that has that much potential but is only one weekend, if you compare what that would cost in booth fees, the actual fees for Ren Fair aren't that bad. It's the initial setup, because like at my fair, you pay a certain dollar amount per linear foot of frontage of your booth. So your booth can be as deep as there's room for. And you'll pay this, if your booth is 12 by 12, you'll pay the same booth fee as you would if your booth was 12 by 20, as long as it's 12 feet wide and 20 feet deep. And then there are some other associated fees, but none of that is too bad once you're established. It's no more expensive than other festivals. Of course, you have to have the clothes. So if you're starting out and you don't have your runny garb, then you're going to need to acquire that. And then at some fairs you have to pay camping fees. And at my fair, you pay the same camping fee per person if you sleep in your building as you do if you sleep in their camping area. So, but like I said, none of that is too bad. It's the building is, what has messed me up. But now this year there's not a fair anyway. They're canceled. They had thought they were going to just postpone it into like October, because normally it would be right now. It'd be starting right now and run through all the weekends of September. But they were going to push it into October. And they just announced within the last few days that they're just going to cancel. Because everything is canceled. Knots and Stitches says maintaining a shop at a fair is expensive. Well, the most expensive part for me, besides the building, is going to be the inventory. Because, that's going to be expensive financially, in addition to in terms of the time it takes to produce all that stuff. Since most of the things I weave are woven from yarn that I've spun and dyed, so there's all that extra, time into it. Knots and Stitches said that anyone who has ever had a Halloween costume has done cosplay. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Jan Whitcomb says, I think it depends. I've heard stories from vendors about the fees charged by the owners. Well, and that is going to vary from one festival to another. Because, people, different owners are going to have different philosophies about all of those sorts of things. In terms of expenses, when I was working like at the Michigan Renaissance Festival, it wasn't my booth and I wasn't really privy, to any of the financial aspects. But even it's going to be different now than it was then, because that was like 25 or 30 years ago, and they're different owners now. And about 10 years ago, somebody bought the Pittsburgh Ren Fair, and so it's a different owner now than it was, more than 10 years ago. J.M. Whitcomb says apparently Flarf is a bit more expensive than comparably sized fairs around the country. Which one is Flarf? Oh, Florida? No, I don't know. I don't know where you are. J.M. Whitcomb says I was part of the cast here for about 5 years as a spinner. Well, that'd be cool. Uncreative says 2020 is just canceled. Yes. Except for my little town keeps trying to figure out ways to keep doing stuff to bring people into town. I'm like, you know what? People just write the year off. J.M. Whitcomb says, and Flarf doesn't have a permanent village. It's built up on a county park, stays for 7 weeks, then has to be torn down and the park area restored before the crew leaves. Oh, and some of that may be why it's more expensive. South Florida Renaissance Festival. Okay, my friend here, who does Pittsburgh, has done a fair in Florida several times, but I don't think she did well enough there to keep doing it. I bet there might be more than one in Florida, so I don't know if it was the same. She currently does Pittsburgh. She does the Big Michigan Fair, and does Tennessee and Kentucky And she might still do the big Ohio Fair. I mean, she was for a while, but I don't remember if she kept doing that. Knots and Stitches said, I think I have 2,000 or more in clothing for fair, and I make most of what I wear. Wow. But now, are you dressed as nobility? Because none of my garb is noble. I'm a tradesperson, I'm not nobility. J.M. Whitcomb says that could be true, and South Florida is more expensive in general. And then says there's Flarf, the Bay Area Residence Fair in Tampa, and then a few smaller ones through the state. Yeah, more and more states have, little ones scattered around. Pennsylvania, the big Pennsylvania, um, the big Pennsylvania Ren Fair is over on the eastern side of the state. I think it's like near Hershey or Harrisburg, more on the Philly side. So, so it makes sense that somebody would have had. Now, the Pittsburgh Ren Fair was quite small for many years. And since it was purchased, the guy who bought it like 10 years ago or whenever, 10 or 12 years ago, also owns the big Colorado Fair and I think a couple other pretty good sized fairs. And he has worked hard to grow this one up. Knots and Stitches says, I have several outfits. J.M. Whitcomb says, Flarf is near Fort Lauderdale, so she probably did either Flarf or Barf. So I'll have to ask her, when you did Florida, to Flarf or Barf? So today I did a little shopping. I had a little money burning a hole in my checking account. So I ordered some of that black and white Peruvian Highland wool in fingering weight that I've been starting to see around a bit. And so we'll see how that. My intent was when I went yarn shopping for Yarn to Dye today was to get something superwash since most of what I have right now is not superwash. But then I saw I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I ordered that. And then I ordered some Rambouillet roving. And I ordered some of that Dorset Polypay blend that I had heard, who was it I had heard talk about it? Freckled Fiberworks had talked about it a while back. And I thought, well, I know where she got that. But it wasn't something that, I really thought twice about. But she seemed happy with it, so I ordered a pound of that, and I'll dye some up and see what I think. And if I like it well enough, I'll put some of it in the shop. She's a vendor. She's a stained glass artist. And then Jam Whitcomb says, I know Faye Ward in and Warmer Than Wool out of Michigan. Yeah, I don't know them. I don't get back. I lived in Michigan from the time I was 13 until I was 40. And then 20 years ago, I moved here I'm in a small historical town about a half an hour north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then she says either Michigan or Minnesota, they'd usually be starting about now. Yeah, Michigan starts about now also. When I worked there, hair braiding, Michigan was 7 weeks. But I don't know, like I said, it's a different owner now than there was then, and I don't know if they still do 7 weeks. But my friend has, like, she has a booth in Pittsburgh and has a booth at Michigan, and she goes back and forth, some weekends at one and some at the other, and has employees for what to cover when she's not there. That'd be scary for me, to I guess I have control issues. It'd be scary for me to leave my booth with. You have to really trust somebody, to sell your stuff that you poured your heart and soul into. Knots and Stitches said my boots were just over $500. Material for my cloak was a bit over $100. I have a Pendragon bodice that was $180. 5 corsets that were about $300 combined, and then there is a court gown and undergarments I made. There are other things I've made too. Those are just the most expensive things. Yeah, now see, everything, all of my garb, both Ren Fair and French and Indian War, is all made by me. And I couldn't tell you what I've spent on it, because the Ren Fair garb I started making like in 1995, and I worked in a fabric store, so I got everything that I used half price. New things that I'm gonna make, I want to spin and weave a lot of it. So while it won't cost me a ton to make it, other than my time, the value of it, the finished value of it, will be quite high. When I think that I'm gonna spin and weave all this yardage to sew garments by hand, I have no idea, because I've got to make all this inventory. But who needs to sleep? KB Fiber says, I'm a Michigan girl living in an Ohio world. What part of Michigan are you from? I'm assuming that by that you meant that you're from Michigan, or at least have lived there and fallen in love with it. We've probably have we talked about this before? I have the attention span of a mosquito. KB Fiber said, I grew up in the southwest corner of Michigan, small town called New Buffalo. It's become Little Chicago, meaning that Chicago is sprawling over the top of it. My family is mostly in the Saginaw area. I graduated from Bridgeport 100 million years ago, and then I went to college at Central Michigan in Mount Pleasant and stayed there a long time, and then moved to Traverse City, where I stayed for about 13 and a half years before I moved here. But my family is mostly around the Saginaw, Bridgeport, Frankenmuth, Birch Run, around that area. But I have still friends in Traverse City and friends around Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, Fremont, where else? Places around Allegan, places around that area, and couple of friends in Ann Arbor. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind. Um, I mean, if it would work logistically and I could afford to do it, I would love to have a booth at the Michigan Run Fair. It's a bigger festival. The potential for income is higher, but it's farther. About, I don't know, 4 hours farther away than Pittsburgh. And KB says, "Yep, I know where that is." Knots and Stitches said, "I think that's a lot of the reason the Scottish wore kilts. So much time and effort went into weaving the tartan that they didn't want to cut it up." Maybe, but a lot of their clothing, I mean, they would have been, if they were weaving their own tartan, they were weaving all the rest of their fabrics, and they cut up their fabric for their shirts, and the women wore wool skirts. And I don't see, cutting into hand woven fabric isn't as scary as non-weavers think. Well, and even it's not even as scary as a lot of weavers think it is. Once you've done it once, it's not scary anymore. And people have been cutting into hand woven fabric for thousands of years. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why. Or it may just have been because of the ease of the garment. And the original great kilts doubled as a blanket. Take off your kilt and wrap it around yourself and sleep. KB says, "I know all those areas." I miss Michigan. I follow a lot of Michigan stuff on Facebook. I typically know more about what's going on in Michigan on any given day than I do about Pennsylvania. And like I said, I've been here 20 years. Veggie said, "TRF is where it's at. Just come here instead." Yeah, when I worked Michigan Run Fair, there were a lot of people, a lot of the vendors who followed the fairs around would go from Michigan to Texas. And usually they didn't do Ohio because Ohio overlaps both Michigan and Texas. Knots and Stitches says, "That's a long drive." Yeah, that's a very long drive. J.M. Whitcomb says, "Scarborough?" Yeah, I don't think that this is gonna last the stream. It's only been an hour, and this bobbin is like more than half full. Well, if I run out of this, I can go back to the glider. I have a project on my medium glider that's a Ply on the Fly project. Knots and Stitches says, "I go to Scarby." Veggie says, "Scarborough is good too." J.M. Whitcomb says, "A lot of the roadies I know usually head to the fair in Scarby after leaving Flarf." Yeah, there are a lot of Run Fair people who follow the fairs around the country. And my friend who lives, well, she doesn't live here anymore. She lives in Ohio now. but she doesn't follow fairs around the whole year, but she starts early in the spring and goes through until early fall. And she also does some Society for Creative Anachronisms events. She's been doing Pensic War here in western Pennsylvania for years and years. Knots and Stitches said Sherwood overlaps with Scarby. Whitcomb says Gulf Horse and Pensic are really big with our SCA community here. Yeah. Yeah, I was amazed when I found out that people come from all over the world to Pensic. Although I'm hearing that they're getting a lot more non-SCA people who pay the membership so they can come in and basically are just tourists. I've always sort of existed around the fringes of the SCA. I have lots of friends who are involved, but I just don't have the time. And I've always said that some of the coolest people I've ever met are in the SCA. And a lot of the strangest, scariest people I've ever met are in the SCA. But, yeah, I am just such a history nerd that I would love, I would lose myself, I'm sure. And I just don't have the time. And Jan Wickham says, yep, same. Although, and there is some overlap between, Ren fairs and SCA. Even though, SCA is historical reenactment and Ren fairs are complete and total theater fantasy. God, you guys, it's so weird being on tonight. I mean, I normally don't stream on Saturday, and I normally don't stream this early. I'm going to be done at midnight and feel like it's time to go to bed. My maid says, I know, it's weird, isn't it? Um, yes, this is, I usually stream from 11 Eastern until about 3 a.m. Eastern. Alley Cat's Corner said, I like this time. I can actually watch and not be a witch in the morning from not sleeping. Sorry. I'm a night owl. It is my nature. And therefore I get a lot of people on the West Coast and a lot of Europeans. Not a ton of East Coast people are available when I'm streaming. Yes, exactly what Bama Maid said. This is an hour before I usually even start. Well, yes, I could have had your 12 to 3 a.m. It would have been much closer to my normal time. But I work on the weekends and I have to be up in the morning. So I don't normally stream on Friday and Saturday night. And I do a short stream on Thursday. Otherwise, I'd never make it to work. But I actually did think about that. I could have taken that one and this one, realistically. Um, Ellie Cat's Corner said, me too, but if I don't get enough sleep, it's not pretty. If I could, I would be up that late, but the alarm clock says no. Um, yeah, well, see, it doesn't, yeah, it's bleh. Being a night owl is my nature. And trying to force myself, like, just, I don't even have to be to work on Friday and Saturday mornings until 11 and noon on Sunday. But that's still hard. It's, my alarm goes off at 9 and I hit snooze sometimes for 45 minutes. And that's hard. Can't do it. I'm just not a morning person. I don't know how I ever survived school. And I was amazed in college when I figured out I could schedule my classes. Not if I did early registration, you got what you got. But if I waited and did regular registration where you go in person and you know, get in line and sign up for a class, and then I could pick what sections I wanted, and I could, start at noon every day. Knots and Stitches said, fair is historic fiction leaning towards fantasy, while SCA seems to be historical fiction leaning towards reenactment. That's close to how I would interpret it. SCA strives towards historical accuracy as much as possible. Ren Fair, there's people wearing fairy wings, people wearing all sorts of styles that, are absolutely not accurate. But it's theater. And the more cleavage that shows, the more money you make. Yeah, time travelers, yeah. Mama Maid asks, are you still reading The Turn? Yes, I've read a little more. I've gotten to the part where they just did the TV interview. And things are, for some people, are going kind of south. It was crazy busy at work today. I didn't have any time to read. I don't know. It was almost like a festival day. I was like, why are there's nothing going on in town. Why are there all these people here? And then I remembered it's a holiday weekend, but I don't remember the Saturday of Labor Day weekend ever being as busy as it was today. I'm sure my boss will be happy when she sees, the numbers, but it was like, holy cow. I was gonna hang out in people's streams, and I was gonna knit. And then, I get there and the boss's husband had left like 3 crates of vintage albums for me to put in inventory. And then there were all these crazy people wanted me to pay attention to them. What do they think this is, a store or something? And most of them were looky-loos. But sales were pretty good, so we can't complain. And my boss and I both are of the opinion that when people come in to just browse, that's just fine, because many of them will come back when they need, a gift or something, or it's time to do Christmas shopping or whatever. Mama Maid said, maybe don't catch up in the channel on Discord yet then. Spoilers galore, and it's all past that point. Okay, well, I will, I'll try to go to bed a little earlier tonight than usual and read some. I normally can inhale books, and just lately I just got all this other crap I have to be doing, and I don't get to read as much as I want. And I still have a 5-gallon bucket of green beans waiting for me to can it. I'm guessing at this point that'll happen tomorrow after work, if I can still walk by then, or maybe Monday afternoon. Mama Maid said, I stayed up way too late last night to finish it and started oh, okay. I was like, wait, what's the word supposed to be? Dead witch walking now. Okay. Yeah, I'm way behind. Way behind. You read faster than I do, and I read fast usually. It's like, how long did it take you to plow through the whole O'Leary series? Not very long. Oh, and then the next book in the Oren's next new book is out now, and I want to read that, but now I've committed to this whole new series I have to read, so I'm gonna have to wait. And I need to look in my library. I can't remember if I pre-ordered it or not. J.M. Whitcomb asked, have you read the Wheel of Time series? Yes, repeatedly. I have, and I have most of it on audiobooks, so I can listen to it while I'm weaving and stuff. But there are a couple of the books that I never got on audiobooks, so I actually have to stop and read when I get to those. He says, LOL, it's my favorite. It used to be mine, and then I discovered this new author. And now I have a new favorite series. But Wheel of Time is definitely right up there. And every time I reread it, I change my mind about which color I would choose. It's like, am I going to be brown or am I going to be yellow? Mama Maid said I devoured this one because it somehow sat completely unread on my shelf for 3 freaking years. And oh my god, I feel like I need to reread it again and make up for the lost time. The new author is Orrin Hadley, and a lot of her books are in. They're typically fantasy, sci-fi, sci-fantasy, urban, paranormal, contemporary paranormal. And many of them are categorized also as reverse harem, but don't let that scare you. There is, many of her series do have polyamory, meaning, the main character has more than one romantic partner. So they're like on on Amazon, they're classified like as romance, and they're, but not like anything I ever thought. Like when I hear romance, her books aren't what I would think of. But she writes like epic series. They're excellent. She reads very well for me. And The Rise of the Illyri is my favorite of her work that I've read so far. Yeah, Mama Maid said sci-fi, fantasy, reverse harem. And she's maybe blue. I tend to have causes. When I was younger, when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I would have maybe been blue. Now I'd probably be either brown or yellow. Because, I don't have the energy for causes anymore. It says, interesting, I know about poly. They're not like Harlequin. Oh, God, no. They're not like Harlequin romances at all. Bauman Maid said Rise of the Illyri had a lot of very deep overtones on themes that hit very close to home given political climates of late. Yeah. Yeah. She does a lot of poking at racism in The Rise of the Illyri, but in a way that I think most Americans wouldn't read it and go, oh, yeah, she's dealing with racism. Until somebody points it out to you, and then you're like, oh. But yeah, Rise of the Illyri is set on a planet where humans colonized, was it like 3,000 years, two or 3,000 years before the story. And when they did they chose this planet because their scans showed that there was metal and the various resources they needed. And then they got there and found that while there is metal, it's not in a form that they could mine and smelt and make things out of. So then you have to think about all the things that you'd how would you deal with various different things if you didn't have metal? Well, you're not going to be able to have electricity because there's no metal for the wires to conduct the electricity. So you have to figure out how to do all, you've got all these technologies, but you don't have metal. And that changes a lot. Bomba Mate says, not like Harlequin. Ooh, yeah, exactly. And today, oh wait, oh yeah, it's not midnight yet. Today on Amazon, the first three books um, and let me get I'll get you a link. The first three books are free. Oh wait, that's not it. Here, it's right here. Oh, I never sent the link to my friend that I thought I sent the link to. Okay. So I'll find it. It'll just take me a minute. Okay, so here is, well, control V. There. So this is on Kindle. The first three books on Kindle are free today, and that's a set of the first three. So if anybody thought it sounded interesting that they might want to check it out, but wasn't sure they wanted to risk the money to pay for it, there's your opportunity. Bauman Maid said, also not like Laurel K. Hamilton if you've read any of that. The writing is not cardboard and the scenes work well. And the series gets the intimacies within the relationships get more graphic over the course of the series. And there's either 10 or is there 11? I can't remember. Because she wrote the whole series. And then everybody wanted to know, well, but what came, what happened after that? And so she wrote an epilogue that's a pretty good sized book all by itself that gives you it gave us closure because we needed closure. Sunflower, hello. I'm pretty good today. I'm a little wound up on caffeine right at the moment. And it was kind of a long day. Kind of a long day, but that's okay. Tomorrow should be a short day. I don't know if we'll be busy at work tomorrow or not. Or if everybody who wanted to come into town to wander through the shops and have dinner and go to the museum and stuff, maybe all got it out of their system today and it'll be quiet tomorrow. We will see. Bob Maid said there were a bunch. I think I read the first 6 books in under a month before I started slowing down, though. They were a good read. When I started reading them, the series wasn't finished yet. And so I would have to wait in between. So I'd go right back to the middle and start again. And that's how I've, read the series like 12 times. Because every time a new book would be coming out, I would go back to the beginning and reread the whole thing. So to be fair, I've probably read like the first 3 books 12 times. And then the rest of them, a time fewer as it goes along. But I was starting to say, as the series goes along, the intimacies become a little more graphic, but it's not gratuitous. It tells the story. It's part of the story. And in science fiction and such, I often skim battle scenes, which means when I read The Lord of the Rings in high school, I pretty much skimmed the whole of the 2 towers. because it just, it's like I skim enough that I get the gist, but it doesn't really hold my interest. In The Rise of the Illyri, I read every battle scene because it's important. And her writing style is just very easy for me to read. And she's a cool person. She's got a fan group on Facebook that she actually participates in. So so I've had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit, and squeal like a fangirl if she comments on my comments. It's like, oh my God, Oren, talk to me. Bauman Maid said, waiting in between is dangerous for me. I will get distracted with another series and then come back to the original when 4 more have been released. Well, see, I'm trying not. Well, I'm trying not to do that right now, but it's going to happen regardless, because, like I said, I've committed to this read along in Dork's group, but at the same time, there are a couple of Oren's newer series that I've started reading, and it's going to be hard when the next books come out. Which one just did? J.K. Whitcomb says, Terry Pratchett is another author I love. Yeah, was it you that was talking about Pratchett in Fiber Mage's stream earlier? I had to go through, I found a website because I'm like, what? Oh, I know I've read some Pratchett. What have I read? I read some of the Discworld a long time, God, probably 30 years ago. And I think I read The Color of Magic. And there might have been some other stuff. It says, no, I was lurking at that time. I think I was lurking at that time too. Listening with my earbuds in while I was putting vintage albums into inventory. Yeah, so I've read some Pratchett. And a long lost friend who came back into my life earlier this summer is trying to get me to read, he wants me to reread The Chronicles of Amber, which I read when I was an undergraduate. So we're talking probably in the early 80s. It's like I have some very vague memories of it. And he wants me to read the Spider Robinson's Callahan series, of which I've read the first book. And then, what's the other one? The Iron Druid series, I think it is what it is, but I don't remember who the author is of that. J.M. Whitcomb says that's the first one. The Color of Magic, is that in the Discworld series? Bauman Maid said, I thought The Hollows was done. Then The Turn came out. Then she released American Demon, and I didn't even know about it until the read-along. And she says, Veggie and I were talking about Pratchett. Veggie said, I started it, but I don't remember who else was talking. And Bauman Maid said, and I was talking about how I haven't read any of them. Oh, right. And then Veggie threw jellyfish on Bauman's roof. Yes, and I am still waiting for stories. There are more hurricanes coming this year, right? We were waiting for Hurricane Laura to throw jellyfish on Bauman Maid's roof. Veggie said, Color of Magic is the first one, technically. Okay. Bauman Maid said, Iron Druid is freaking hilarious. That's what I hear. Jan Whitcomb says, but there are different threads. The City Watch of Ankh Moore Park is one thread and deals with politics and racism via dwarves, trolls, werewolves, etc. Veggie said, I think you can pick up any book in the series. Jan Whitcomb says, yes, Color of Magic is the first in the... Okay, so, well, yeah, then I've read some of the Discworld series, but I don't remember what else because it was a really long time ago. Nuts and Stitches said, I'm about to go to bed. Today has been a fun ride. Good night, all. Yeah, we should do this again. Or frequently, maybe even. But good night, and thank you for coming and hanging out. Nice to meet all of y'all that I hadn't met before. Jan Whitcomb says, yes, it's not a series you have to read in order. And Bama Maid said, if you haven't, you need to pick up Iron Druid. Yeah, that's what I'm being told. Need to read it. But I told him if I have to read all these series he wants me to read, he has to read some of Oren's work, and I think he would like it. He said, just don't start with the Dark Orchid. Because it could be a little bit overwhelming. Obama Mace is totally worth it. Jan Whitcomb says The Weird Sisters is a literary spoof of Macbeth. Oh, that'd be fun. Obama Maid said you will not regret it. And then Whitcomb, Jan Whitcomb says sorry, Weird Sisters. Yes. Yeah. Obama Maid's got to go put Tiny. You got to go put Tiny to bed. Oh, yeah. Because I'm like, shouldn't Tiny Human have been in bed a long time ago? But I forgot. This isn't my usual time. Veggie said, I heard Dresden is better than Iron Druid. Dresden Files. Yes, that's the other one. Supposed to read Dresden Files, too. And then says, but Dresden, main character is frustrating to read. Yeah, that's kind of what he said. And he said, don't bother with the TV show because they didn't do a very good job. Bama Maid said, haven't read much Dresden, but I'm a go with Iron Druid. The dog alone is amazing. And then she says, it's Saturday, so meh. All right, Bama Maid. We've got another one. I want everybody to read The Rise of the Illyri so I can make references to stuff and people will know what I mean. You're welcome. Veggie said, what have you guys done? LOL. Well, you already knew this since we're fiber people, we're enablers. Uncreative says Spike from Buffy narrates the audiobooks for Dresden. Oh my god. I need to make some money so I can renew my Audible account. I haven't re-upped my Audible account in a very long time. Veggie said, it's true. It's one of our faults. Well, I don't know if I consider it a fault. We just want other people to be as happy and as excited as we are. So my friend is going to think it's hilarious when I tell him that you guys are pushing me towards the same books that he is. Veggie says strengths, possibly. I think so. Oh, hey. It's quarter to 11. I might be able to make this last. I'll just spin a little slower. Uncreative says, ah, yes, your friend is of quality person and of good taste. I'll tell him that. Life has been rough for him for a few years. He could use the little boost. Veggie said, I don't know, but now I'm broke. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing I bought fiber first before I had to go book shopping. Well, I bought in the what's it called that we're reading? The Hollows series? I bought the Turn, and then I bought the first actual book in the series. I might have bought the first two. But it's like, I'm like looking at them on Amazon, and like each one is more expensive than the previous one. It's like, what's up with that? Okay, so any of you guys want to come over to my house and can my green beans? Neighbor brought like a 5-gallon bucket of green beans. We are not going to have to buy canned green beans for years because we like them at my house, but we don't. I mean, you know, I'll take a big old hunk of beef on my plate. I don't need any side dishes, thank you very much. So, you know, we don't go through a ton of green beans. So I'm going to have, you know, like if this is really the apocalypse, I'm going to be all set as far as green beans. Veggie says, sure, let's assembly line the green beans. That sounds good. And if I use both my pressure canner and the housemate's pressure canner, I can do, let's see, I can do 7 pints in mine. And I'm not doing quarts because we'll never eat a whole quart of them. I can do 7 pints in mine, and I think I can do 14 or 16 pints in his because he's got a ginormous one. But if I'm doing them by myself, I'm just doing 1 canner at a time. Veggie said that's what she said. Oh, if I didn't mention earlier, this is Targi that I'm spinning some Targi. Fibermate said, when you think of me, what color do you see? When I think of you, the first thing that comes to mind is a variety of shades of pink and, you know, maybe some purples. Does that fit? all the rest of y'all think? Veggie says red. Well, the first thing I thought actually was red, but that's because her name is always red in my chat. Working on shop colors. My logo has just at some point it became that roving. You know, that's my background on my stream. And it's on my business card, and it's in some other places. And what people usually pick up from it is the bright purples and fuchsias and oranges, and that's a colorway that was based on Dark Moon Fair in World of Warcraft. And I just think it's hilarious that that particular colorway has sort of become what people associate me with online. Fibermate says, I'm working on shop colors, and Veggie responds, then rainbow vomit. And Fibermate says, I get a main color and an accent. Veggie says, colors everywhere. Well, kind of a darker pink and a medium purple is kind of what I think, but don't necessarily give too much credit to what I think. And she says, I want all the colors, but I only get 2. What are you using to set up your shop, Fibermage? I've used a number of different things in the past, but this time I'm using Squarespace. And it's been one of the least complicated that I've ever used. And it was lovely not having to tweak any of the code myself. Veggie says, seems to go toward red shades. Oh, so you're using Square as well. Cool. Veggie says, pinks, purple, red. Uncreative said, I know there's been research into the psychology of colors and logos, but that's mainly for fast food and energy companies and the like. I wonder if there are trends in color schemes for fiber stores. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, because, all of the education that I've had about logos and color schemes doesn't feel like it applies at all for me in this field. J.M. Whitcomb said, "What's the name of the store?" To which Bauman Maid replied, "Rainbow Vomit." Um, Fiber Maid said, "I have a very slightly muted bubblegum pink and a dark raspberry." Uncreative said, "Ugh, I'm going to regret it if I don't knit 2 inches of ribbing from." Um, Not necessarily. I mean, our if I'm doing, um, like regular crew length socks, um, I usually only knit an inch or an inch and a half of ribbing and then switch to stockinette. Um, and on my ankle socks that I've been doing about an inch and a half, but sometimes I only do an inch. It is completely up to you. And sometimes I don't do any ribbing at all. I just let the top roll. Because, I don't care. Fiber Mage said, "The Fiber Foundry." Well, that's a nice name. J.M. Whitcomb said, "If Mage is in the name, purple and purple and silver might be nice." Baba Maid said, "Tiny is in trouble. The entire time I was streaming, Oldest was at her friend's and Husbeast wasn't paying attention. She was in her sister's room tearing stuff up." Oh no. Uh-oh. J.M. Whitcomb says, "Laughing my ass off." Veggie says, "Oh no, Tiny Bowman." Oh, and J.M. Whitcomb says, "Not at what Tiny did." Uncreative said, "I'm at 3/4 inch. Maybe it's fine." You know what? It's however you want it to be. There are no sock police. Not around here. J.M. Whitcomb said, "I was laughing at your name for the store." Uncreative said, "I'm just tired of going back and forth between purling and knitting." Yeah, I don't mind. I used to hate it. I used to hate ribbing. And I don't anymore. But I don't usually want to do... I used to force myself to do the whole leg of the sock and ribbing. I hardly ever do that anymore. You know, I forgot that I really kind of enjoy spinning targi. It dies differently than a lot of my other typically used wools. So it's like Targi and BFL have a mind of their own when it comes to how they take color. And usually BFL is fine, but it can be weird with purples and is often very weird with pinks. Fiber Mage said, "I can change the shop name if it doesn't work out. Do you think I should stick with the Yarn Mage as the store name?" Well, you're kind of branded on the internet as Yarn Mage or Fiber Mage. So I think either of those would work. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Fiber Foundry. So I think, whichever of those your heart desires. Bomba Maid said I was going to work on my socks. About halfway across the needle, I switched my knits and purls and had to tink so many stitches. Aww. Jam Whitcomb says, I'm not going to be able to keep up with all the Discord servers, lol. I can't. I can't even keep up with my own. But every once in a while, I'll go through everybody else's and just sort of catch up. But mostly I look at the pictures. Unless a conversation sounds interesting. Bob and Maid said some are busier than others. Yeah. Mine would probably be busier if I ever got in there and participated. I should do that more often. Veggie said, and there is a way to mute servers as well. Oh, I didn't know that. J.M. Whitcomb says, I'll post a note, then can't find the note I posted. Yeah. And there are a couple of people that when I first started hanging out in the fiber streams here, people that I joined their Discord. But some of them don't. I haven't streamed in forever, and nobody's been active in their Discords. Some of those I just went ahead and deleted, and figured if I ever want to join them again, I can. But some people's are really busy. Mine is not. Uncreative said, Fiber Mage plus Fiber Foundry equals magical fiber golems. Bomba Maid said Fiber Foundry and Fiber Mage and Yarn Mage all bring to mind fiber alchemy. Yeah. Yeah. All of that. What all of y'all have said. J.M. Whitcomb said you can still use silver as an accent. Foundry makes me think of blacksmithing, so a metallic accent might be nice. Okay, I'm getting a little rambunctious here, I think, because I'm a little overspun. We don't want any corkscrews, thank you very much. Fiber Mage said, that's kind of what I was going for. Well, I can't wait to see. J.M. Whitcomb says, silver and metal sheep. Veggie says, so metal. Not sorry this time. Bauman Maid said, couldn't find cookies. Looked in both pantries. Yes, we have two and have never figured out why. And couldn't find them. Not on counters, not anywhere obvious, and not in a cat hidey hole. Tiny put them in the bottom drawer of the fridge. Fibermate says, BRB. We'll see you when you BRB, Fibermate. JM Whitcomb, love the fiber braid that just popped up in the corner. What color was it? I didn't look in time. Oh, I need to, I took some better pictures of the, Nightmare Before Christmas. The yarn and the roving. I need to post those on Discord. Smoky purple and other colors. Did it have some greens and some sort of mauves in it? That might have been Darnassus. And if you're seeing a theme here, yes, I have a lot of colorways named after places in World of Warcraft. Bama Maid said sometimes she does fine when I'm streaming. Today it was unsupervised chaos. Bama Maid said the purple and greens. Yeah, if that's what it was, the purples and greens was, okay, I'll watch it come right. See, and now I missed it as it came around. I don't know if they go in order or if they're random. Okay, there's Iron Forge. And, Darkmoon Fair. And, Chiana. And Darnassus. The one that is, oh, yep, Darnassus. The one that's shades of gray and white. My friend who owns the local yarn shop is friends with the actress who played Chiana in Farscape, if any of you are Farscape nerds. And she asked me if I would do a Chiana colorway so she could spin it and knit something for her friend. And then the dyes, the black dye I was using, diluted down into like purpley hues instead of grays. So it wasn't perfect. I was not completely happy with it. When I dye it next, I'll be using my my black dye that typically dilutes down into better grays. Obama Maid said she found a hole punch that does butterflies. There are tons of tiny paper butterflies all over the place now. And then said, to be fair, the butterflies are cute as fuck. Yeah, the purples and pink and greens is Darnassus, which is the home city of the Night Elves in World of Warcraft. Devin Articulate says, came out of Lurk because Farscape was mentioned, haha. And J.M. Whitcomb said, that's so awesome. Now I want a Chiana braid. Well, I'll dye some of that. What do you want it on? Let's see, what do I have? I have another I only have another 4 ounces of the Falkland. I've got quite a bit of Polworth. I've got a few more braids worth of, what did I say this was? Targi. I've got some silk. I'll have to look and see what, I might have some other stuff too. Oh, I have some Rambouillet and some Dorset Polypay blend coming. Devin says, that's so cool. The colors are spot on for Chiana. And Jan Whitcomb said, it was Darnassus. Yep, it was Darnassus. Hey, honey bunny. You guys got your butts kicked, didn't you?
How did you know?
Because I did too. And almost every one of them said, yeah, we're heading over to the inn. I'm like, oh, God.
Are you streaming
Yes.
on Saturday?
Yeah, I told you. It's a special event.
That's right. Through the fleece.
That's right.
It was record bad.
Yeah.
And I hour to an hour and a half ticket times.
Wow. I was wondering.
Parties that we didn't have room for that had scheduled like 220 tops.
Wow.
Well, when the kitchen was so low, they started feeding us alcohol at 9 o'clock. So I'm a little hammered.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of drama with the new.
A new sous chef.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come up and say hi when I'm done. Okay, you too. The bright one with the bright purples, fuchsia and orange is Dark Moon Fair. Okay. You guys are scrolling away from me now. J.M. Whitcomb said, I don't know that I've ever tried Falkland or Dorset. You know what? And I think I lied. It wasn't Falkland, it was Finn. It's sort of a fine to medium-ish sort of thing. The Dorset Polypay is going to be a new blend for me. I haven't tried it. I heard it spoken highly of in someone else's stream, so I thought I'd try. And it's if I'm remembering correctly, it's reasonably inexpensive. Veggie says, Honey Bunny. Yeah, Honey Bunny, they got their butts kicked really bad today at the restaurant where he works. Bama Maid said, hi, Honey Bunny. J.M. Whitcomb says, how much are your braids, or what is your site called? They're gonna, it depends on the fiber, because, you know, different breeds cost different amounts. So then that has to be reflected in the cost of the dyed braids. And I am just in the process of putting my shop together. It's going to be on Squarespace. I had closed my Etsy shop a long time ago because I have a couple of local venues and I was having trouble keeping up. And you know, it was hard to keep both of those places stocked and keep Etsy stocked. And I didn't sell that much. I mean, I don't market myself well. So, I mean, I wasn't selling that much online. And things have gotten weird with Etsy anyway over the years. But now because of streaming, you know, I have more online presence and people kept asking me where they could buy my stuff. So I'm putting together a shop. I'm sort of stalled at the whole taking pictures phase right now. So I need to get cracking. I've been doing getting some pictures taken. And then I can get stuff uploaded and then I can open the shop. So hopefully soon, like hopefully within the next 3 or 4 weeks. Veggie says, duh. Alley Cat's Corner said, ugh, I fell for a scam. I've been on the phone to get card and such straight. I so know better, but this one got me. I am mad at myself. Oh, man. Well, don't beat yourself up. So, you know, some of the scams are really good. They're very, very good at what they do. Fiber Mage said, okay, back. Welcome back, man. J.M. Whitcomb said, oh, shit. Yeah. And then says, welcome back to Fiber Mage. Bama Mage says, oh, no, Ellie Cat. Fibermate said I was putting the Stinkerdoodle to bed. Stinkerdoodle. That's a good name. J.M. Whitcomb said, LOL, I don't know that one either. Yeah, everybody hopes everything works out, Alley Cat. J.M. Whitcomb said, this is random, but when checking your fiber staple, do you stretch it out to measure? Boy, I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. I think, like, okay, so if I pull a staple length off of this I would not stretch it out. But if I'm looking at a raw fleece, I might. Does that make sense? You don't know Squarespace. Are you familiar with the Square for chart running credit cards that a lot of craftspeople do, so that you can charge credit cards through your smartphone? It's part of their website. They now offer web shop space, and you can do a simple web shop that, you know, realistically does everything I need right now for free. And I already have a domain name. So all I have to do is transfer it there, which I think I already did. And then you can add additional features for a monthly fee. But, you know, none of the additional stuff looked like anything that I really need at this point. So then the Square credit card processing is automatically integrated right in. Ellie Cat's Corner says, it will be just a momentary lapse in judgment. LOL, the Apple Card is pretty good about stuff like this. Well, that's good. That's right, Jam. The Etsy is not anywhere near as friendly to small businesses. I started out on Etsy back when it was the original collective of friends who wrote the code and started the thing. And it was a wonderful place to be, a wonderful community then. But at some point, it had just grown too much, and you know, the original people wanted to go in other directions and do other things, and they sold it. And the person who took over is much more of a business person and much less about community. Fibermate said, I wish I could show you what I'm looking at color-wise. Yeah. Do you know how to take a screenshot? Devin said, it's a shame Etsy has gone a bit weird. Yes, it has. And it's still, for a lot of people, it's still a good place to start. But, like when I started, it was still small enough that you could just put your stuff on Etsy and you didn't even really have to do any additional advertising. You know, people would just come to your shop. But, you know, as it grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, there's so many people in any one category, you know, that you really need to bring in your own customers and not count on Etsy's algorithms to get people, you know, in your door, so to speak. But it's still a good place for people to start. But once you start doing any volume of sales, then it's way more expensive than a lot of other options. Bama Maid said, yes, things are much easier to take care of on that front now than even 3 or 5 years ago. Birdie Mom says, back, how's it going? You know, I had noticed that I hadn't seen you in a while. JM said, "Yes, I know Square." Yep, Squarespace is is basically web space through Square. Square or they used to call it Square Up. Is the website still Square? I can't remember. But anyway, I will let y'all know. I'll tell I'll announce it here, and I'll post in Discord when I publish my shop. So there will be yarn and roving, and there will be knitted things and woven things, and possibly handmade soap. We'll see if I can get motivated to make some. My boss keeps saying, "When are you going to bring soap in?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Can't get motivated to do it. Um, just, too much other crap. And maybe some like resin sort of things. I from time to time make the stainless steel tumblers that have glitter or alcohol inks or whatever, and then have epoxy resin over it. And then there's always leftover resin, so I have molds that I put and I'll probably put some masks, face masks, on the site. I mean, people, you can get those everywhere, but I should make some out of hand spun, hand woven fabric for the cold weather, since looks like we're going to be wearing masks for probably the rest of our lives. Bauman Maid said, and just like at a show or anything, it tracks your inventory. Yeah. And that was for a lot of the free web shops for a long time. That was the thing that drove me crazy, was they didn't track inventory at all. And unless you paid, you didn't get that in the free version. But yeah, stuff has come a long way. Fibermate said, okay, Google color A91040, that's the main color, and color, let's see, is it A or an E? I can't see that far. A4, A2 is my second color. Devin said, it always feels like the more popular something is, the less friendly it becomes. Yeah, when it starts becoming a business venture, then people's attitudes change, it seems like. Devin said Twitch has probably changed a lot too. I would imagine it has. And then says, ooh, I love soap making. I made a big chunk of my living with handmade soap for a long time. When I still lived in Michigan, I traveled around the Great Lakes states, going to shows and stuff. And then, right about the time I was starting to burn out, everybody and their sister decided that they were going to make and sell handmade soap, and there started being a ton of competition. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. I'm kind of burnt out anyway. And then about, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, friends started pestering me if I was were you gonna ever make soap again? I really miss your soap. I was like, okay, I'll make some damn soap. But, and have sold quite a lot of it through the gallery where I work on the weekends. But, I just, in the last 6 months or so, the thought of going down the basement and making soap has not been a happy thought, so I haven't done it. Burning Mom says my computer battery died even though it was plugged in. It had oh no, I've had that happen with my laptop. It'd be like, why is this not charging? Well, I'm glad you're back. And Veggie says, "Okay, everybody stop talking about Burning Mom." Veggie said, "But also we have a mini advent going on." Yes, Burning Mom is hosting an advent mini sock yarn skein swap on my Discord. And if you think it might be fun to swap mini skeins, um, they don't necessarily have to be, they can be holiday themed if you want, but they don't have to be. Burning Mom says there are no yarn police. But if you think you might be interested in something like that, you can go ahead and check that out. It's got its own thread on the Discord. And there's still time to sign up. Veggie Burning Mom's laughing at you if you didn't notice. Veggie said, "I'll take some soap. I stink." Well, you don't have to stink. And most of my soap has always been either unscented or with essential oils because I have not tolerated synthetic fragrances very well. But I have found that as long as I get synthetic fragrance oils that are phthalate free, that they work better. I still cannot bathe with them. I can't rub them on my body, but I can work with them. So I've been experimenting in making some of the outrageous soap that has more soap piped on top, and doing those with some of the funky artificial fragrances and stuff. So there'll be the plain old hippie granola soap with essential oils, and then there'll be the wild and crazy. Like if you watch any of the soap makers, like Royalty Soap and those kind of places on YouTube, more along those lines. But that is if I can make myself go down the basement and make soap. Devin said, "That's awesome. I love just watching and smelling it. Where my partner and I got engaged, have a local handmade soap company, and I'm crazy for their scents." Cool. And they make candles too. I was making candles for a while, but they didn't sell well enough for me to keep being interested in making them. Hi, honey. Okay. Okay. Love you. Sleep well. The kid's home from work now too. So now the cat will be happy. Burning Mom said, "Can you make it on the back porch in the summer?" I could, but that would require hauling all the crap upstairs from the basement and out onto the back porch, and then hauling it all back down to the basement afterwards, and I don't have the knees for it. I have a dedicated soap making area in the basement. There's not a darn thing wrong with it. And it's probably more that I just haven't felt like making soap than the fact that it's in the basement. Oh, no, I was talking to my stepdaughter. She just got home from work. No, I've got about another half hour to go yet. Well, there might be somebody here going to bed. Uncreative said, "I wish we could go back to the time when we could just make stuff for fun and not try to monetize all of our hobbies." Well, and that's what I always tell people, because like I work in an art gallery that features local artists, and we are people come in like, I don't know, sometimes every day, and want to know, well, how do I sell my stuff here? And I frequently tell people, be careful about turning your hobby into a job, because I've done that with a bunch of things that I no longer want to do. I did stained glass for a living for a long time. And no, I don't do stained glass anymore. I've still got my tools. I could do it again if I wanted to. But it's been a long time since I wanted to do stained glass. It's just not fun anymore after all the years of having to do it on somebody else's schedule. And with soap, I loved making soap. But I got really burnt out for a while and didn't make soap for probably 10 years. Got rid of all my stuff. Now I have never lost my passion for fiber stuff. And so there's that. But with the fiber stuff, I make what I want. And if it sells, it sells. I'm not making what somebody else wants me to make. Which is why I typically don't take custom orders. Because that takes the joy out of it for me. On Creative says, yeah, whatever happened to making stuff for the sake of making things? Well, I'd rather spin and dye and weave for a living than most of the other jobs I've ever had. Of course, I'm not making a living. But, if I were to do bigger shows, like if I decide to pursue the Renaissance Festival again, that could be a living. But that's, do I really want to? How hard do I want to work? Do I want to produce $15,000 or $20,000 worth of product a year? So it remains to be seen. Mama Maid said, I make stuff for the sake of making things because I like to make things. Yeah. But since I do, produce all of this work for a living, I've noticed in recent years that when new things catch my interest, I don't pursue potential hobbies because I don't have time for hobbies. People used to suggest, well, have you ever tried the adult coloring books? It's so relaxing. It's like, I don't have time. That's time that I could be using to be spinning or knitting or, producing things that are going to generate income. I don't have time. If I've got time, I'm going to play games if I've got time. Or read. Reading, I guess reading has been my hobby for for my whole life, but in the last several years, reading is what I choose to do with my downtime. And scrolling stupid, pardon my language, fucking Facebook. Facebook is evil. You guys probably all already know that. It sucks away our souls. Birding Mom said, I won't knit for people, but I can't knit enough for all the yarn I want to dye. Well, and that's another consideration is that, if you decide you want to dye all the yarn, all the pretty colors, can you humanly use all that yarn? Well, if not, what are you going to do with it? Well, sell it. There's such a market for it. But then, at the point where people start making demands is when the passion starts to long time ago, a friend of mine who was I was hanging out in the like cloth diapering, extended breastfeeding, and those kind like hippie granola mama sort of groups online. And I was, making diapers, and then I was making soakers and stuff. And a friend of mine who was also involved in that community had built a little wooden kitchen for her young daughter. And she was, one of the things she had got for her kids for Christmas was a little wooden frying pan. And she asked me, do you think you could knit a fried egg? And I was like, I'd be willing to try. So I knitted a little fried egg and some bacon. She said, how about bacon? I said, well, the bacon will be easy. So I knitted the little fried egg and the couple of strips of bacon. And then she's like, well, how about toast? How about a piece of toast? So I knitted some toast, and I sent them off to her, and she gave them to her kids for Christmas, and they were thrilled. And so she posted pictures on this forum where we hung out, which no longer exists. And then everybody's like, oh my God, where did you get those? Oh my God, can we buy that? And so then I started making them for sale. And then people were like, well, is there a pattern? Can we? So then I made a pattern so they could buy the pattern. Well, then I started getting wholesale inquiries. And, and I designed all these other fruits and vegetables and foods to be knitted. And then I started getting wholesale inquiries. And, like 20,000 bunches of knitted grapes and, 30,000 knitted apples, whatever, however many I did. I was done. It was like, when I was knitting a handful here and a handful there and selling them to people on the mommy forums, it was cool. When people wanted, it got to the point where I really would have needed to hire knitters. And I wasn't charging enough for the finished product because I hadn't learned hard lessons about pricing my work yet. I wasn't charging enough for them to be able to pay somebody to do any of the knitting. So I just stopped. I was like, nope, I'm done. Just done. And so, it's like that. It was still fun when I was selling them to a smattering of people. It wasn't fun anymore when I had to turn myself into a factory and people were constantly banging on my email. When can I get, when can I get 20 of this and when can I get 30 of that? And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this. I'm sick and tired of knitting grapes and cherry tomatoes. Because, of course I had to knit a salad and it had cherry tomatoes. So yeah. And I think, that's some people can do the factory levels of production all by themselves and love it. And, there are dyers who've been dyeing for a long time who are still just cranking it out. But there are also a lot of indie dyers who have a great product and they're really sought after, and after 5 or 6 years they're like, nope, I need to do something else now. And some of that is just creative process. It's like, they exhausted that part of their creative process and now they want to do something different. But a lot of times I think people just get burnt out. JM says, I'm not as worried about monetizing my hobbies, but sometimes I wish I could at least make back a little of the money that I spent on my hobbies. Well, and for some people, that's where it starts. Most of the volunteers at the Weaver's Cabin where I volunteer, because we can sell things that we make there. Most of the volunteers just want to make back some money to buy materials. But there are a small handful of us for whom this is a big part of our income. And so we always have to have conversations with the hobby people about how to price your work. Because, yeah, you might be retired and don't need the money and just want to make back a little bit to buy more materials with. But if you undercut those of us who are trying to make a living, we're not going to be able to make a living. Uncreative said, also, our worth is not linked to our ability to produce something for society. We have an inherent worth outside of our money making abilities. Absolutely. We absolutely do. But we also have a need to keep a roof over our head and food in our bellies. And we should be able to do that doing something that we love. But when we turn something we love into our income, we need to be able to find a place of balance. Bama Maid said, that said, I have tried to turn my hobbies into a business. I've had quite enough of that. Yeah, you did the show thing. Devin said, uncreative, I couldn't agree more. Birding Mom said that new Rise of the Illyri won't read itself. No, it won't. But I am good and well caught up on that one. That's just, now I go back to it when I don't immediately have something else I need to be reading. Birding Mom said, hey, Facebook is going to pay people to stay off it. Seriously, they just announced that. Sign me up. Bama May said they owe me some back pay then. Bama Maid said, BRB, oldest is ready for bed now. Well, we've got about another 15 minutes, so if you're back by then, we'll see you then. If not, I'll see you tomorrow night at my usual time. Drunken Lab said, hello. I'm dead and obsessed with the socks I'm making. I did 63 rounds last night. Woohoo! Drunken Lab redeemed hydrate. Thank you. I have not been consuming my beverage tonight. And that's not like me. I usually don't need to be reminded to hydrate. JM said that's something women I worked with told me. A woman I worked with told me once. She saw me making baby booties for a friend and asked if I'd knit a pair for her nephew. The day I gave them to her, she asked how much, and I didn't feel right charging an exorbitant amount for this tiny little pair of booties. So I told her 10 and cringed because they would have been half that at Walmart. Yeah, and they were probably worth at least twice that. Birding Mom said, plus you lower the value of craft when you do that. Absolutely. There was a lady at a craft show that sold baby sweaters for $15 to $25. We were talking color work and all kinds of beautiful knitting. Yeah, so she's like, is she even making back what she spent on materials? And if she is she paying herself a living wage? And that's the thing that people miss. It's, and people say, well, people where I live won't pay that. So I say, well, then they're not your market. Find a different market. If the people in your community or the people you're trying to sell to, if the people at the shows you've gone to won't pay the price you need to be charging, then do different shows. Those aren't the shows for you. Plus, it's the vast majority of people trying to make a living with crafts are women. And, go to any craft show and, what percentage of the vendors are women. And we have been, women's work has been undervalued for so long that we continue to undervalue it. And it's hard to change that thought process. But I'll guarantee you, most men who make their living with their hands don't undervalue their work. At least not in my personal experience. JM said, she looked at me, mind you, this woman was about a decade younger than me, pulled out a 20 and said, you took the time to make these for me, don't ever sell your labor short. Woohoo! Well, see, and that's another thing is that, in the last decade, maybe, there is beginning to be an appreciation for handcrafted work. And if someone is looking at your work and they understand what went into it and what its value should be, and you're charging a lot less than what they think it should be, the first thought is going to be, well, is there something wrong with it? There are always going to be people looking for a bargain. And if they go to a shared booth and, some of the people there are selling at appropriate prices and one or a couple are selling their work at a really ridiculously low amount, people looking for a bargain are going to snap up the cheap stuff. But people who understand, quality of work and who want to buy quality items are going to assume that there's something wrong with or there's some reason why that other item is so much cheaper, and they're going to pass it over. Drunken Lab says, JM, agree with her 100%. Yes, absolutely. Bomba Maid says, I'm back. Welcome back. Neither girl takes very long to get in bed, but until they whine they're too old for it, I will sing them their bedtime song. Cool. Drunken Lab said, knitting with black amongst other colors is horrid though. Can barely see my stitches. Yes, and warping a loom with black yarn is horrible as well. You need to have really, really good light when you're working with really dark colors. I said, but it's so pretty. Yes. Birding Mom says to Drunken Lab, I'm working on a black sweater and I can only do it in great lighting, but it will be so wearable. JM says to Drunken Lab, I do too, but I'm not good with charging people, especially because I know what it's like to not have a lot of money. But this woman was in the theater. We were working on a show together when this happened. So as an artist, she was also keenly aware of the value of art and handcrafts. Fiber Mage said, okay, I've made some progress, but now I'm done. My brain is fried. Well, and that's what I do, with mine, is I work on it for a while and then I need some space from it. Because, it's a bit more left brain than I am used to, It's like, my math brain needs to rest now. Bomba May said, baby steps, Fiber Mage, no need to overdo it. Drunken Lab says to Birding Mom, I'm doing black and orange Halloween socks. I love black so much, but it's only good to see when I have my desk lamp right on it. Yes, or sitting out in the sunshine. Well, and Drunken Lab, that's an option too. I mean, if you don't need the income from it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with gifting your work. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. And see, and I'm not paying attention to, and I'm getting overspun again. Drunken Lab said, you know what I really love about knitting is that no matter how little you do on your project, you always make some progress. Uncreative said, "All right, I'm off for now. My hands are cramped up from knitting, so have a good night, everyone. Have a good night yourself, and it was nice to see you. It was very nice to see you." Birding Mom says to Drunken Lab, I work under an overhead OT lamp. OT lights are amazing for doing like any kind of needlework or textile work. We have several of them at the weaver's cabin because the lighting in there is so inadequate. Which is, it's fine during the day because there's lots and lots of windows, but if you're in there on a gloomy day or trying to work at night, it's, you go blind trying to thread a loom. Obama Mate said, I figured you'd notice when the tension went haywire. Well, see, and that's probably why it was getting all corkscrewy. JM said, now I can say goodnight. We'll have a good night. Yeah, we've got a little less than 10 minutes. So yay. The roving did last the whole stream. And I think I spun pretty steadily. A lot of times when I'm reading chat and talking, I stop what I'm doing. There have been knitting nights on my stream where I've gotten very little knitting done. Thanks to y'all chatty people. So I will be back tomorrow night at my usual time, about 11 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, maybe we'll do some plying tomorrow night. Unless I find something else I want to spin. Or go back to the Ply on the Fly project. Which is going to, take me forever. And so then tomorrow night, I'll be here until about 3 a.m. Eastern time. Although I have to get up early on Monday. Ugh, I forgot. But yeah, I'll probably be here till my usual time. Drunken Labs said, more sleep, been waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. for days now. See, I'm usually just going to bed at 4 or 5 a.m. Bama Maid said, we made a 24-hour spin-a-thon. Needs to happen again. I think so. I think this should be a regular occurrence. And I understand that if it becomes a regular occurrence, that Saturday is probably the best day for it. Because, most people don't have to work. But yeah, if I could do this time slot, I would participate. Well, I don't have to work on Monday. Well, my husband does. Has to work on Monday. The restaurant where he works is open. The place I work is never open on Mondays. But one of my guild mates and I I'm the guild librarian. Although I'm thinking about resigning because, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to get to meetings with any regularity. Especially since I know that I haven't gone to any meetings since meetings started back up after, the quarantine. Because the person I usually ride with texted me and said, pick you up at this and such a time. I won't be wearing a mask. I'm like, I'm not getting in the car with you if you're not wearing a mask. And then what I'm being told is at the meetings there is no social distancing and very little mask wearing. And I'm thinking, our guild is like an older demographic. We have a lot of members who are in high risk categories, and I don't understand it. And I'm not going to any meetings where people are not taking my concerns seriously. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know how much a meeting going to I'm going to be doing, so it may not be fair to the rest of the guild for me to be the librarian, but the person that I'm going over to work on it with is the vice president, so I'm gonna, and she wants to go on Monday because she's off from work, um so yeah, I'll talk to her about it. I've enjoyed being the librarian, but if I'm not going to be making it to meetings, then you know JM says to Mama Maid, "This was awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, but I would need a different time slot." Mama Maid said, "Thank Dork, and Dork and Rogue, they started the madness." Fiber Maid said, "I'm off to bed. This has been fun." It has. And if it hadn't been so busy at work today, I could have participated more. I could have been chatty. JM said, "Oh no." Mama Maid said, "I almost took your slot, but the date was mixed up and I had to change it." JM said, "Nope, no masks, no meeting." Yep. Yep, that's my philosophy. And that's what my doctor said too. No getting in cars with anybody that doesn't live in my household, and no meetings if they're not wearing masks. JM said, "What are they thinking?" Well, see, in our county wasn't hard hit at all. There's still, I think, we're only up to like 18 deaths in my whole county. And most people where I live don't know anybody that died, and very few people who were sick. So it still doesn't feel real to them. Birdie Mom said, "I wouldn't go either." No, I'm not. Well, one of the guilds in Pittsburgh, the guild that's the younger, hipper crowd, did their meetings over Zoom, and I think they still are. We have people in our guild who don't even have email. They still get their newsletters via snail mail. So I'm pretty sure that the majority of our membership would not be interested in trying to figure out Zoom. The person driving a Monday, yes, yep. She's within her immediate family, and she assured me that she wears masks at work. She wears masks everywhere she goes. She just doesn't with her immediate family, and that's fair. I don't with my immediate family either. We don't wear masks in the house, but we're all being pretty careful. And everybody who lives in my house knows that I'm pretty high risk. I'm one of the people that if I get this stupid thing, I'm likely as not to not survive it. And that's not a risk that I'm willing to take. But yeah, I trust Jen. She's a good person, and she's one of the spinners on the sheep to shawl teams. So we've gotten to know each other pretty well. She's the mad spindle lady that the year she participated on our Spinzilla team and spun everything on spindles, she beat the crap out of all of us. It's like, holy cow, Batman. I was spinning my brains out and you beat me by a mile. And JM says, so they're not really taking it seriously. Right. And a lot of people around where I live are not taking it seriously. JM said, I live in southern Florida. We were hit pretty hard. Right, right. I'm not immediate family, but we're going to be wearing masks. Um, and we will be in when we're in the place where we meet is the county extension office, and we have they've well we pay them to use part of their storage room as for our library, and we've got cabinets with all our books and stuff. And there won't be anybody else in the building that day. It'll just be Jen and me. So I feel pretty comfortable about it. But yeah, we'll be wearing our masks unless we're like across the room from each other. And I'll probably be wearing my mask anyway, except to eat my lunch. Mama May said with Spinzilla, it's a very literal mile to be beat by two. Yeah, yeah. Well, and she hadn't she had taken time off work after her son was born, and hadn't gone back to work yet. So she didn't have to plan around her work schedule or anything like that. And so she had more free time than most of the rest of us. But still, I mean, I usually came in first or second. And all the years that we did Spinzilla at the yarn shop. And she just blew in and blew us all out of the water. Birdie Mom said, so it started here. I live just south of Seattle and watched it roll across the country and people wake up. And it took people dying in the communities to make it real. Yeah. Yep. And yeah, and there's still the state legislature is still trying to shut down the governor's what do you call him? The protocol. Oh, and I'm seeing this happening in other states too. Oh, the governor is destroying the state. Need to get him out of office. But I know there people are talking the same smack in Michigan, and I really respect what Michigan's governor has done and how she's handled it. But now Michigan's climbing again too with all the universities that decided to open their campuses and now are thinking they might have to close back down after all. Would have been simpler and probably less expensive to just go completely virtual for now. And JM said, oh my God, our state is fighting to make. Yeah, I don't know what you were trying to say. And that says, damn it. Basically, our governor doesn't think it's a big deal and is trying to force schools to open. Yeah, well, um, our schools opened this week on Wednesday. And so my stepdaughter is doing, um, I think she's doing 2 days on campus and the other 3 days virtual. But our school, the high school, is being really careful. And she was supposed to she's taken Latin and was supposed to take it in person. But they switched her to virtual for that. I guess they couldn't figure out, because she would have been going to a different building, because they have this big campus that has the high school and the junior high and a bunch of other stuff going on, and she would have had to go to the junior high building since she would be in Latin 1. And apparently they're trying to avoid students going from one building to another as much as they can. Bauman Maid said our school uses an app that the parents have to check in with every day before dropping the kids at school. Apparently there are already issues with parents not doing it or knowing, lying on it, and sending kids to school sick. Well, and that's why there's so many outbreaks in the schools. People are in denial, they don't follow the rules. JM said the county health departments are getting calls from the state health department and telling them not to recommend virtual schooling or state funding will be pulled. Devin says schools here in England started this week, and my friend who teaches in high school said all the guidelines are muddled and people have already made mistakes with safety for themselves and the children. Yeah. They don't want to stay home and take care of their kids because they need to work. Yeah. I don't know how, I don't think it's possible to keep people safe while maintaining an economy. You know, we're going to have to choose one or the other apparently, and a lot of people are choosing the economy. You know, I mean, I live in this little dinky town with all these little dinky small businesses, and there are a lot of the businesses that are members of the business association are like, you know, we need to open things back up. We need to find ways to, we have to have events to draw people into town. Our businesses are failing. It's like, well, you know what? I'd rather have my business fail than be dead. But maybe that's just me. Bauman Maid said, so the school sent out a list of consequences for it. Missing check-in, first time kid goes to isolation and parent is called to check in. Second time kid goes to isolation and parent is called to pick them up. Third time, isolation and kid is moved to distance learning for the rest of the semester. Sounds fair to me. Birding Mom said, my friend runs a daycare and people dropped sick kids off before this started. Why do we think that will change? Yes, exactly. Bauman Maid said lying and sending a sick kid to school is a second strike, a two-strike offense. Once and kid has to go home, twice and kid is put on distance. Yeah. JM says, I think it's a shame though putting the economy over people's health. Well, you know, I understand that people are scared. People are scared about their jobs. They're scared about losing their homes. You know, apparently evictions are starting. Well, weren't there? Wasn't that like a national, federal thing that landlords weren't supposed to be able to evict tenants during this? So I don't know. I don't know. Bauman Maid said, but that's a deeper problem. It's always been a bad thing to be a working parent. Kid gets sick, parents lose hours and money, basically punishing them for the sick kid. This is just exacerbating that predicting issue to the 9th degree. JM said, I understand the fear, but the evictions are... Yeah, that's what I thought, that the evictions are supposed to be illegal right now. So then, you know, you have to wonder, or I have to wonder, are people... I don't know anybody that's at risk of being evicted. Are people really being evicted? Or is that a story people are spreading to try to cause more fear and chaos, because there are a whole lot of people trying to cause fear and chaos right now, you know, due to the elections and whatever. JM said, my neighbor got evicted at the end of June. Well, so that there is evidence that people really are being evicted. Bauman Maid said, pre-existing, said my neighbor was threatened with foreclosure and was forced to sell. But how could you even sell a house in this economy? Tamitran said it ended and has been reinstated. JM said fortunately he was able to move in with his girlfriend. And Bauman Maid said luckily he was able to find a buyer in a new place. Birdie Mom says, so Tacoma has rallied. The mid-sized cities are doing well, and we are doing well. So you can have an economy, not booming, but it's happening, and keep people safe. Um, Tamatran says people are being evicted. Okay, well, you know what? And if you guys have experienced with, if you know people to whom it's happening, that's great. I mean, I'll accept that. My point was is that I don't know anybody who's been at risk of being evicted or foreclosed during this time. Birdie Mom said my friend sold in 4 days. Holy crap. JM said because the housing market is probably depressed, which means homes are slightly more affordable at the moment. Birdie Mom said in Washington, evictions are illegal and the state is serious and going after them. See, I thought that was on a national level. And maybe they're illegal too, and here too, and maybe that's why I haven't been aware of it. Oh yeah, investors are buying homes. That's probably true. Bauman Maid said he also basically sold it for what he owed the bank. The sale was incredibly fast. And JM said, I think it also depends on which state you're in. Yeah, and like I said, I thought that was a national thing, but maybe that is state by state. Birdie Mom said, no, it's more that people aren't moving, so there aren't a lot of houses on the market. Well, and I know here that, real estate sales and brokerage wasn't considered essential. So, I mean, housing sales and mortgages and things were shut down during when we were under quarantine. And again, that would be a state by state thing, but that's how it was here. So people couldn't buy or sell houses for the duration of our quarantine. Birdie Mom said, no, it just started being a national program. Up to now, it's been state by state. JM said, LOL, they tried to declare wrestling essential here. Yeah, it was interesting here to read the list, of what was essential and what wasn't. There were things that I would have thought were essential that didn't make the cut, and things that I would not have thought were essential that did. Bauman Maid said beaches are apparently essential too. JM says, yay, Florida. Oops, I'm not watching my hooks again. Oh, no, yeah, I go there. Okay, you guys, we've extended 15 minutes beyond the end of the official time. And I can hear my voice starting to get hoarse. So I only have this much more to go. But I'm hungry and I'm stiff and I have to pee. And I didn't take a break because y'all were chatty. And that's a good thing. I like when you guys are chatty. And we made all the slots were filled, right? We did a whole 24 hours. That's exciting. And Birdie Mom says, so it's the 24, 25 hour train. Nah, I gotta pee. But I'll be back tomorrow night and hopefully we will do this again before too long because it was fun. So how much long? Okay. Tour de Fleece is like 3 weeks long, right? So we've got 2 more weeks to go. Maybe we could do this again at the end. And JM says 24:20. I was a few minutes late starting. Bama Maid says, have a good night. I'm going to head to bed and read a bit. And now I'm going to going to have to work on that frog hair spin just to get it done. JM says, "Yep, that would be cool." I think that'd be good to do it another time during the thing. Bama Mate said, "Heck if I know. I barely paid attention to the length of the first one." It seemed like it went on forever because I had done it before. I had done Tour de Fleece before, but not in several years. And so I was kind of accustomed to Spinzilla, which was like spin your brains out for a week and you're done. And I kept forgetting that Tour de Fleece isn't a race. Like, I can spin leisurely, or I could spin a quarter of an ounce a day and nobody cares. It's the whole, remembering to take pictures and to post and to chat in the group, all that stuff is where I bog down. But with streaming, a lot of the social interaction of it has happened in our streams, and so that makes it easier. But I was the first one earlier this summer. I was starting to be at a loss for things to spin. Because I decided at the last minute, and I kind of did this time too. But I've got a bunch of stuff I need to dye, and I have some fleeces I need to wash. So maybe over the course of this week, some of that'll happen. So, anyways, well, so here's 20 extra minutes, JM. So we're making up for your late start. We'll just tack the extra 20 minutes onto the end tonight. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. This has been a blast. I'm game to do it again. And regularly from time to time if people want to do it. What was I going to say? See, I always ramble at the end. Well, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. It's been a long day for a lot of us. And I'll be here tomorrow night. I was going to say same bat time, same bat channel, but not same bat time. 11 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. Until about 3, unless I decide I need to call it a little earlier because of having to get up in the morning. But anyway, so Monday through Thursday nights, I'm here at 11 p.m. Eastern. And all y'all are welcome to come hang out whenever you want. Baba Maid said it'd be cool to do it again. Yes, it would. So I'm not gonna raid anybody because it's been a whole day of raids. So I'll just let the auto host pick up anybody that might be on. And thank you again. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. So all of y'all have a good night. If it's nighttime where you are, have a good day if it's daytime. And we'll see all y'all around.